Black father shelters girl for one night, not knowing she's the missing daughter of a millionaire. The city lights turned the wet streets into liquid gold, reflecting the soft patter of rain as it slid down windshields and soaked into asphalt. In a small, quiet neighborhood on the south side, Marcus Thompson steered his old SUV into the modest driveway behind his duplex, the engine's rumble dissolving as he eased the vehicle into park. He was a black father of 38, tall and solid, wearing jeans and a threadbare hoodie. His eyes, warm and watchful, scanned the rearview mirror before he killed the ignition. Inside the back seat sat a slender girl, no more than 12 or 13, clutching a small duffel bag and wrapped in a thin sweater despite the mild spring evening. Marcus took a breath, inhaling the faint floral scent that clung to her, mingled with rain. His daughter, Keisha, had called him earlier, tears in her voice, to say she'd be late, and so he had taken the long route home, hoping to calm her by reminding her that he was always nearby. But the girl looked up as he unlatched the door. Her eyes were dark and large, sorrowful but guarded. Her voice, when she spoke, was quiet. "I'm sorry, sir. I needed somewhere safe." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He wasn't naive. He had seen kids like her, streetwise, scared, slipping between systems. But he also knew that once in a while you did what felt right, even if it cost you comfort. He opened the back door fully and spoke softly. "Come inside. Let's get you dry. Okay?" She nodded once, sliding into the front seat. Marcus exhaled again, and in that moment, something shifted. Not fear, not hope, something like responsibility. Inside Marcus's kitchen, the overhead light cast a warm glow over chipped tile floors and mismatched chairs. The girl removed her wet shoes and socks quietly, looking around as though seeing her first quiet home. Marcus fetched a towel, then a clean sweater, and set them before her quietly. "You're safe here," he said. "What's your name?" Her eyes drifted upward, meeting his. "I'm Lena." Marcus nodded. "All right, Lena. You hungry?" She nodded again, more softly. He ladled tomato soup into a chipped bowl and offered her peanut butter toast. She accepted, sitting at the counter, knees pulled close, staring into the soup as if she expected more than the scent of tomatoes. "How long you been out?" he asked gently. Lena paused, spoon halfway to her lips. "A few days," she said finally. I ran." Marcus didn't pry. He simply sat across the counter, nursing a cup of coffee and listening to the quiet hum of night. Later, he showed her the guest bedroom. Nothing luxurious, just a single bed with a comforter that Keisha had chosen weeks ago, and a small lamp on the nightstand. "You can sleep here," Marcus said. "Lock the door in the morning if you want." She nodded, hesitated, and whispered, "Thank you." Marcus tucked the blanket around her shoulders one last time and switched off the light. In the silence, he felt neither satisfaction nor unease, only the steady thrum of knowing he had made the right choice. Across the city, in high-rise offices with polished marble and panoramic skyline views, the Forbes 500 lists glimmered in framed glass. It was there that Robert Langley, billionaire tech magnate, philanthropist, and single father to his 12-year-old daughter, Amelia, sat pressed against a wall of monitors tracking the latest updates on the missing child case. Amelia had vanished 5 days ago, after leaving school. Her room remained untouched, her locket still on the dresser. The cameras around her school and neighborhood were static. The whispers of trafficking and kidnapping churned through news outlets and social media. Robert's paunch tightened with every new, missing poster floated on TV. He had promised her the world, and now nothing came. Not a call, not a clue, just a void. That evening, His phone pinged with an alert. New lead, possible sighting of girl in raincoat near Southside neighborhood. His heart leapt. He snatched his jacket, called his aide. Prepare car. We're going out. Back in Marcus's home, Lena slept curled on the bed, the sweater nearly swallowing her small frame. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching her breathe evenly. He pulled his phone from his pocket. Keisha's name flashed. He hesitated, then texted, "Be late." Working. His gaze shifted back to Lena. He'd meant to just help one night. But by morning, his own life might be bound to everyone else's in ways he could never expect. The morning sun slipped lazily through the blinds, casting long golden streaks across the small bedroom as birds chirped somewhere beyond the kitchen window. Marcus stood at the stove, spatula in hand, flipping pancakes with a steady rhythm that betrayed none of the unease simmering inside him. The house was quiet, too quiet for a man raising a teenage daughter. But today, silence wore a different shade. Behind him, the hallway creaked faintly. Marcus didn't turn right away, just called out gently, "Mornin', Lena. You sleep okay?" There was a pause, then the soft scuff of bare feet. "Yeah," came her voice, hushed and cautious. I didn't know where the bathroom was." He pointed over his shoulder. "Second door on the left. Got towels already out." She nodded and padded quietly away. Marcus stared at the stove, flipping the final pancake onto a plate, his mind whirling with questions he hadn't asked last night. Who was she running from? Was someone looking for her? Was she in danger? And now, was he in danger too? He wasn't a man prone to paranoia, but life had taught him to be careful. He'd grown up understanding that black men didn't always get the benefit of the doubt, even when their intentions were clean as rainwater. So as Lena returned, damp curls clinging to her forehead, her eyes darting to the front door as if it might betray her, Marcus made a decision. "After breakfast," he said, setting the plate in front of her. "We're gonna talk. I need to know a little more. All right?" Lena's fork paused midway. "Okay," she whispered. Meanwhile, in a glossy black SUV weaving through the manicured hills of Atlanta's outskirts, Robert Langley was trying to keep his hands from shaking. A man known for calculated confidence. His fingers now trembled ever so slightly on the armrest as his driver turned into the third gas station that morning. "No sign of her, sir," the bodyguard muttered, glancing over the crowd. "But locals say a girl in a pale sweater was seen by the corner deli last night. Alone." Robert exhaled sharply. "She has a small birthmark under her ear," he murmured. "No one notices it right away. Amelia's quiet, but she'd ask for help. Unless—" He didn't finish the thought. He didn't need to. Back in the duplex, Marcus set his coffee down and looked across the table at Lena. "So, let's start easy," he said, trying to soften his voice. "Where are your folks?" She didn't speak right away. Her hands fidgeted with her fork, her gaze fixed on the uneaten corner of pancake. "I don't know," she said finally. "I mean, I did. I lived in a big house. With my dad. He's rich." Marcus raised an eyebrow but didn't interrupt. "But I ran away." "Why?" Lena looked up, and for a moment, something flickered across her face. Anger, fear, regret, all wrapped in something deeper. "Because I was tired of bodyguards, of being watched. He says it's for my safety, but I never got to be normal. I just wanted one day to be normal." Marcus leaned back slowly. "So you ran away, and now you're here." Lena nodded. "Does he know you're gone?" "I think so. I didn't leave a note." Marcus scratched his beard. "You know he's probably tearing the city apart looking for you." She didn't answer. After a beat, Marcus stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sun had begun to burn off the morning mist, and two joggers passed the house without looking up. He sighed. You know, he said, not turning back, I don't know what it's like to grow up with money, but I do know what it's like to be a parent. And if Keisha ever vanished, I'd tear down heaven itself to find her. I didn't mean to scare him, Lena said softly. Marcus looked over his shoulder. Then maybe it's time we call him. In a darkened tech lab nestled inside Langley Industries, Amelia's face beamed from every screen. Missing posters, social media shares, security footage loops. One image caught Robert's eye. A still from a gas station camera last night. A girl matching her build, her hair, her posture, walking alone near Southmore Avenue. Enhance, he said hoarsely. The technician tapped a few keys. There. Clearer. The face still grainy, but unmistakable. A spark of hope flared behind Robert's tired eyes. Find every address within a 5-block radius with any contact to child services, shelters, police reports, anything. I want to knock on every door. Marcus stood in the living room, phone in hand, debating. His thumb hovered over 911, then the non-emergency line. But before he could press either, there was a knock at the door. 3 quick raps. He turned to Lena, who immediately stiffened. Don't open it, she whispered. Marcus stepped closer to the door, peeking through the side window. A woman in plain clothes stood on the porch. Early 30s, brown hair pulled back, clipboard in hand. Mr. Thompson? She called. We're doing a neighborhood canvass for a missing child. Mind if I ask a few questions? Marcus turned back toward Lena. You tell me, he said quietly. What do you want me to say? Lena hesitated. Then slowly, she shook her head. Not yet. Just not yet. Marcus hesitated at the door, hand on the knob, heart pounding like it hadn't in years. He had no warrant, no reason to deny the woman on the porch, and yet, the raw trust in Lena's eyes from behind him held more weight than any badge or title. Morning, he said finally, cracking the door just enough to meet her gaze through the opening. I'm Marcus Thompson. You said you're looking for someone? The woman nodded and held up a laminated photograph. We're working with Langley Family Security. You might have seen the alerts. Missing girl Amelia Langley. She's 12. Disappeared 4 days ago. Marcus's throat went dry. Even without looking too hard, he could feel Lena behind him, small and silent as a breath. I've seen the news, he said, forcing casual calm into his voice. Horrible thing. Hope they find her. We're just checking the area, the woman replied. Some nearby surveillance picked up a possible match. You wouldn't mind if we looked around? She might have sought shelter even in a garage, a porch, anything. Marcus frowned. Ma'am, I don't mean no disrespect, but you got a warrant for that. She blinked, caught off guard. No, sir. Just asking for cooperation. I respect that, Marcus replied. And I wish you luck. But I got my daughter inside, and I don't let folks poke around unless I have to. Hope you understand. The woman lingered a moment longer, searching his face. Then she offered a tight nod. If you do hear or see anything, please call the hotline. He took the flyer, nodded, and shut the door gently. He locked it with deliberate slowness, then turned. Lena was standing in the hallway, holding her duffel like a lifeline. I can leave, she said before he could speak. I never meant to cause you trouble. Marcus exhaled. Trouble's not always a bad thing, he muttered. Sometimes it's just the truth asking to be seen. Up in Buckhead, Robert Langley stood in a room filled with screens and silence. The text had triangulated possible paths his daughter could have taken. Bus stops, parks, alleys. None led to a solid match. Pull all known addresses of Marcus Thompson, Robert said suddenly, his voice low but sharp. His aide blinked. Sir. The name came up. One of our security volunteers said he used to work at Langley Logistics, warehouse supervisor, 5 years ago. Fired after an altercation over a coworker making racist jokes. The room went quiet. I want to know where he lives, Robert repeated. And I want to go there, myself. Later that afternoon, Marcus and Lena sat in the backyard. It wasn't much. Just a small fenced patch with a few plastic chairs and a tired grill. But in the sunlight, it was calm. You ever miss her? Lena asked suddenly. Who? Marcus said. Your daughter. You keep talking about her like she's not here. Marcus smiled faintly. She's 16 now. Lives with her mom across town. We split custody. But lately she's been busy. Distant. You know how teens are. Lena nodded, gaze falling to her lap. I used to feel that way, she whispered, like I was just another thing on my dad's calendar. Bodyguards, tutors, events. But he never made time for me. Maybe he just didn't know how, Marcus said. A lot of us weren't taught that part, how to show up, how to sit in silence and just be with our kids. She looked at him, then back at the fence. I thought if I ran away, maybe he'd learn. Marcus didn't speak for a long time. When he finally did, his voice was soft. Or maybe he already did. And now he's just trying to find his way back. At dusk, the sound of a car pulling into the driveway sent both their heads turning. Marcus stood. His gut told him this was different, heavier than a neighborhood check, more deliberate. The doorbell rang. Lena was already backing up. Hide, she whispered. No, Marcus said. This time, maybe it's time to open the door. He walked to the entrance, smoothed the front of his shirt, and pulled it open. Standing on his porch, silhouetted against the dying light, was Robert Langley himself. Beside him, a bodyguard stood still as stone. I'm looking for a girl, Robert said. Her name is Amelia. She's my daughter. Marcus didn't flinch. What makes you think she's here? Because your name came up, and because a father knows when he's getting close. Behind Marcus, Lena stepped forward. Slowly, quietly, Robert turned at the movement and froze. There, in the warm shadows of a stranger's home, was his daughter. His voice caught in his throat. Amelia, Lena's lip trembled. I didn't mean to scare you. I just wanted to be me, just for a little while. Robert stepped forward, slowly, as if approaching a deer on a forest path. You're safe now. She looked at Marcus, then back at her father, and something in her posture softened. I know, she whispered. He made me feel that way. The house, once cloaked in ordinary stillness, now felt like it pulsed with invisible energy. Marcus sat in the armchair he'd owned since Keisha was born, the leather edges worn and familiar, while Robert Langley, a man whose name Marcus had only seen printed on packaging trucks and magazine covers, stood in the middle of his modest living room like he didn't quite know where to put his hands. Lena, or rather Amelia, had curled herself into the corner of the couch, one leg tucked beneath her, her eyes darting back and forth between the two men. Marcus cleared his throat. She said she needed a safe place. I didn't know who she was, but I knew she needed something real. Robert nodded, his jaw tight. You gave it to her. I can't tell you what that means. Marcus studied the man. His suit was pressed to perfection. His shoes probably worth more than Marcus's rent. But his face was worn. Not from age, but from worry, the kind of worry that stretches across sleepless nights and dead-end leads. And for the first time, Marcus didn't see a CEO or a billionaire. He saw a father. Robert turned to his daughter. "I don't want to force you home, Amelia. I just want to understand. Why didn't you come to me?" She hesitated. Then, "You're always busy. You don't even see me when I'm in the room. You look at spreadsheets and investors and flight schedules, but never me." Robert opened his mouth, then closed it again. "I just wanted to breathe," she said softly. "And I couldn't. Not in that house. Not with the cameras and guards and interviews." Marcus leaned forward, clasping his hands. "You can't cage kids, man. Even the golden ones. They'll run. Not 'cause they don't love you, but 'cause they don't know how to reach you." Robert slowly sat down across from Marcus. The room fell into a hush, but not a heavy one. It was the silence of a conversation finally beginning. Later that evening, Marcus made tea, not because either of them had asked, but because something about the clink of mugs and the scent of lemon balm seemed to ground the moment. "You know," Robert said as he sipped, "I spent the last 4 days believing the worst, that someone had taken her, that I'd failed to protect her." "You didn't fail," Marcus said. "You just missed a part. We all do." Robert looked at him. "How do you do it? Raise a daughter when everything around you tells her not to trust the world." Marcus's laugh was low, almost bitter. "You don't do it despite the world. You do it because of it. You teach her to see herself before the world tries to write her reflection for her." Amelia sat nearby, listening intently. "And what if you weren't taught that?" Robert asked. "Then you learn. From her. From the quiet. From men like me who've had to." Marcus leaned forward. "Ain't no shame in starting late. Only in not starting at all." The conversation turned softer after that. Robert asked about Keisha. Marcus asked about Amelia's mom. They both spoke like men stripped of pride, sharing the rough edges of their parenting journeys. By nightfall, Robert stood by the door, one hand on Amelia's shoulder. "She wants to stay the night," he said, almost sheepish. "Not alone. With your permission." Marcus looked to Amelia. Her eyes met his, steady now, not fearful. "I'd be honored," he said simply. That night, Amelia helped Marcus wash dishes. The kitchen smelled of lavender soap and cooling cornbread. She asked questions about Keisha, about music, about what normal looked like. "This," Marcus said, gesturing to the mismatched plates and humming fridge, "is about as normal as it gets." "I think I like it," she smiled. Back at his hotel suite, Robert called his head of security. "I found her," he said. "She's safe." "That's incredible news, sir. Should we alert the press?" Robert paused. "No, not yet. I think she deserves to come back on her own terms." In the quiet of the Thompson household, Amelia lay on the pull-out couch, tucked under a patchwork quilt that Keisha had long outgrown. She stared at the ceiling, fingers curled around a soft pillow, thinking not of the mansion she'd left or the cameras that would no doubt follow her return, but of the quiet kindness in a stranger's voice and the way his home smelled like cinnamon and safety. She thought of her father, too, not the businessman, but the man who had listened, really listened, and for the first time in days she closed her eyes and felt peace. The morning sunlight filtered through the worn curtains of Marcus's kitchen, casting warm rectangles across the table where the smell of coffee, scrambled eggs, and honey toast lingered like old memories made new. Amelia, still wrapped in the oversized sweater Marcus had found in Keisha's closet, sat across from him, chewing slowly. The tension in her shoulders finally softened. "Sleep okay?" Marcus asked, sipping from a chipped mug. She nodded. Better than I have in weeks. I didn't think that was still possible. You're safe now. That does a lot, he said, standing and pouring her more orange juice. Just then, a knock at the door. This time there was no hesitation. Marcus opened it. Outside stood Robert Langley, still in his tailored navy coat, but this time with something different in his eyes, not urgency but gratitude. And beside him stood Keisha, Marcus's daughter, having been picked up on Robert's request. Her backpack still hung from one shoulder, and she gave her father a confused but curious look. I thought maybe it was time for some introductions, Robert said, his voice soft. Some real ones. Inside the house, Amelia stood, unsure. Keisha's eyes darted to her. Wait, that's the girl from the news. Marcus chuckled. Yeah, but that's not all she is. Robert stepped inside. I wanted to say thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't taken her in. I didn't do it for a thank you, Marcus replied. I did it because she reminded me of my own daughter, and because no kid should feel alone. Robert looked between Marcus and Amelia. Would it be okay if we sat for a moment? Minutes later, the four of them sat together in the living room. Keisha and Amelia already chatting over music and books, while Robert leaned forward. I've spent most of my life building towers and companies, Marcus, but I think I forgot how to build connection. Marcus smirked. It's slower, and doesn't always come with a blueprint. They laughed, and in that small space between them, something changed. A crack in the divide. A bridge. Before they left, Robert turned back at the front door. I want to fund a community center here, in this neighborhood, in your name, for families like yours, and kids like mine. Marcus blinked. Why? Because you didn't ask for anything, but you gave everything. Marcus looked at Amelia, who now stood beside Keisha, smiling like she'd known her forever. All right, he said, but only if it's named after the girls. Robert smiled. Outside, as the car pulled away with Amelia and Keisha waving from the window, Marcus stood on the porch, arms crossed, the wind brushing through his shirt. He had no millions, no driver, no security detail, but he had built something rare, a home that healed.